Okay, so this is example 3 of distributive property, section 3.7. I've showed you how to distribute a variable to certain expressions. Now it's just going to get a little bit more complicated. So in this example 3, we have two distributions happening. Okay, there are two distributions happening here. And it's important for you to see that the -4 is only going to be distributed to x plus 3. Where the bracket closes is where you stop the distribution. And then the +2 is going to be distributed to 2x minus 1. So for the first part, we're multiplying -4 times x. Then don't forget to put -4 in bracket +3. Okay, so that's the first part. There are two multiplications happening here. Now for the second part, we're going to do +2, bracket 2x, and this time we rewrite +2, bracket -1. Remember that we take the sign that's in front of the number at all times. So we're going to continue this. When we multiply -4 times x, it's just -4x. -4 times 3, well 4 times 3 is 12. And a negative times a positive is a negative. In this case here, 2 times 2 is 4. Positive times a positive is a positive. And then we have an x. We just rewrite the x. And then 2 times -1, 2 times 1 is 2. And a positive times a negative is negative. At this point, we're going to go back to the section which is collecting like terms. And we're going to go ahead and put our like terms together side by side. So we're going to start with -4x, and we can see that there is a like term with +4x. So -4x, +4x are like terms because they have identical variables and identical exponents. Then we've got -12 and -2, or -2, that are also like terms. -4x plus 4x is 0x, and -12 minus 2 is -14. It's like saying you have 12 negative tiles and then you give another 2 negative tiles, which gives a total of -14. Since there are 0 x's, there's no point in writing it, and so the answer is just -14. This is not an easy example. I'm going to go on to do B. I'm just going to rewrite it on this page here so that it makes it a little bit easier. So we've got 3m times m minus 5 minus 2m squared minus m. So in front of this bracket here we have a 3m, positive 3m. So we're going to distribute it to m minus 5. So 3m bracket m plus 3m bracket -5. In the other bracket, there's a subtraction here. And to subtract polynomials, you have to add the opposite. So I'm going to go ahead and put a big plus here. And the opposite of 2m squared is -2m squared. And the opposite of -m is plus m. So here you're going back to section 3.6, which is subtracting polynomials. So remember, when you're subtracting a polynomial, you're actually adding the opposite. We're going to go ahead and do this work here. 3m times m. You keep the 3, and when you multiply a base that's the same, you keep the same base and you add the exponents. Now 3 times -5. 3 times 5 is 15. We're going to rewrite the m, and positive times a negative is negative. Over here, we've got a plus in front of the bracket. This is actually a +1, an invisible 1. And since you have +1 in front of the bracket, we can just rewrite this bracket without any brackets. So it'll be -2m squared and then plus m. We're going to go ahead and simplify this 1 plus 1, which is just to the power of 2. We're going to collect our like terms. So here we have 3m squared and -2m squared. That can go together. And then we have -15m that goes with positive 1m. 3 minus 2 is 1m squared. And -15 plus 1, -15m plus 1m gives me -14m. So it's important to know your integers and how to do the work. Now here we're just going to eliminate this 1 by rewriting m squared minus 14m. The reason for that is because you would have a communication right here, just because the 1 is not necessary. Okay, so we rewrite it as m squared minus 14m. Example C, not sure if this is in your sheets, but now it's with fractions. So 1 over 2 bracket 2w minus 6 minus 2 over 3 bracket 9w minus 6. This is a lot trickier with fractions. We're going to distribute the 1 over 2 to these two terms. So we have 1 over 2 bracket 2w. There's a plus in front of the 1 over 2. So plus 1 over 2 bracket negative 6. Here we're going to distribute negative 2 over 3 to positive 9w. And then we're going to distribute negative 2 over 3 to negative 6. To multiply fractions, no big problem. Multiply the tops, then multiply the bottoms. I would like you to put your fraction over 1. Anytime there's no fraction, create one, because to multiply fractions, you want both to be fractions. So multiplying the tops, 1 times 2w is just 2w, and then 2 times 1 is 2. We're going to move on. Positive 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. A positive times a negative is negative, and the bottoms, 2 times 1 is 2. Multiplying the top over here, a negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times 9w is 18w over 3. Negative 2 times negative 6 is positive 12. 2 times 6 is 12, and a negative times a negative is a positive. And then 3 times 1 is 3. I want you to make sure that you simplify at all times if you can. Okay? Here, 2 divided by 2 is 1w. 6 divided by 2 is 3 with a negative in front. 18 divided by 3 is a 6w with a negative in front. And 12 divided by 3 is positive 4. At this point here, you're going to go ahead and collect like terms. Okay. Now 1w and negative 6w go together. Then we have negative 3 and plus 4. 1w minus 6w is negative 5w. We have more negatives, so it's negative 5w. And negative 3 plus 4 is positive 1. You cannot take out this plus 1 because it's not a coefficient, it's a constant. We need that plus 1 unit. So at this point, we cannot continue because there are no more like terms. Again, these are more complicated. I suggest you go back, review what I'm doing, and really try to understand it. If not, maybe ask a partner and they can try to explain it to you. Okay. Now we're at the last example. And the last example is with nested brackets. So we have square brackets and round brackets. Well, according to BEDMAS, you have to do brackets first. Well, which brackets do you first? You always do the innermost brackets first. So innermost brackets first. That's very important to know. Okay? So we're going to go inside a bracket, and I'm going to look at the 2k minus 1. Can we simplify 2k minus 1? The answer to that is no, because they are not like terms. They are unlike terms. Sorry, hard time writing here. These are not like terms, so you cannot do anything with it. So multiplication is next, since there are no exponents and no divisions. Well, there are multiplications because of the distribution. Okay, so there are distributions here happening inside here. So we're going to distribute the positive 5 to both the 2k and the negative 1. You're just going to rewrite the 3, the square bracket, with the 2. The reason we're not doing 2 plus 5 first is because we don't do addition before multiplication. So you must distribute before you add. So we're going to go plus 5 bracket 2k. And then we're going to go plus 5 bracket negative 1. Then we're going to close the other bracket. So all I've done is distributed the 5 to the 2k and distributed the 5 to the -1. We're going to go ahead and multiply. So 5 times 2k is positive 10k. 5 times 1 is 5, but a positive times a negative is a negative. As you can see, you can simplify inside the bracket. So you've got to do whatever you can inside the bracket before you do anything else. So we're going to collect our like terms, which is 2 minus 5. 2 minus 5 gives me -3, and I rewrite the 10k. At this point, you can change the square brackets to round brackets if you prefer. So we're going to have 3 bracket -3k plus 10. Whoops. It's -3 plus 10k. So I just changed my brackets to make you see the distributions here. So we're going to distribute the +3 to the -3, and then the +3 to the 10k. 3 times -3 is -9. A positive times a negative is negative. And then 3 times 10 is positive 30k. There's nothing else I can do here other than rearrange my equation. We always want the constants at the end. So this is equal to 30k minus 9. So remember that you want your units at the very end. So this is distribution. Again, it's not very easy. However, I suggest that you look at the video and maybe you go on YouTube if you need some extra help. Homework help would help as well. They all do it the same. They might skip this step right here, but that's not a big deal. You can still go ahead and try to get some help from homework help. Okay, so hopefully this helped.